Alright, now this video is going to be about the ancient texts talking about manna and this monatomic gold and people eating it and not having to eat for 40 days and glowing and different, glowing white. Well, I think there might be something to it. All of this stuff seems to make sense. This is bioluminescence. Now, that's animals creating their own colors. I mean, what can I say about that? That's just the way it works. I mean, this is I'm sorry. This is the chemical ones making colors from chemistry going together, but it's virtually the same as bioluminescence. There's no difference. What happens is the chemicals, this just happens to be these things are alive, the other ones are inside of a laboratory somewhere, and they're juicing the things together, but it's the same process. And it appears that it may have something to do with transition metals in these creatures as well. I don't know. There's a lot of research got to be done on this. This guy Larry popped me into this, and now it's just taking on a life of its own. I got another life to go back to, so Larry, thank you. No, thanks, buddy. I really enjoy it. All right, anyway, this is what we got, and this is very interesting. So I'm going to give you the rest of the video in a second. Alright, I'm going to try to make this as painless as possible. Now, we're talking about this monatomic gold. And pH in this scenario is just absolutely the most critical thing there is. Because pH is the only way that things bond. If you don't have negative or positive charges, they don't bond. They bump into each other, but that's it. They don't do anything at all. So they have to have a pH situation going on, an ion, in order for something to bond together covalently, ionically. Covalent means it's just hooking together in the outside rings or somewhere in the rings. Anyway, so pH, remember this is just gigantic. No pH is nothing. This is zero. Okay, so now, then you got heat. Now, heat is another very interesting thing. Heat will change the electrons in their orbitals. It'll make them jump up. All right, and they add energy. The energy increases. And apparently, it increases more over time. And these transition metals appear to need time to make that transition. Nobody's ever taken the time except this guy. David Hudson, I believe his name. Anyway. Now, we also know this. What? Magnetism. Everybody knows that magnetism locks in when something is heated and then it cools down. Your ferrous metals and things like that. There's only 3 or 4 metals that have any magnetic capability that they know about. Anyway, so we know that. Because all this relates to heating over and over and over and over this the gold. And it's all making sense now. Now, he was heating it, so he would heat it up, and it would heat, and all of a sudden it would drop like that, and then it would heat, and it would drop like that, and then heat, drop. Well, what's happening is in transition metals there is no, there's holes, in here where normally they'd fill up, and only you would work with this one. Well, in transition ones, magnesium, you got like 7 holes. So it creates 7 literal different states. They call them oxidation states, I believe is pretty much what they call it. Now, so what that's telling you is that somewhere in here there's holes all over the place. So if you were to heat this thing up, and it started jumping things up here, and there was holes already, I don't know what's going to happen, but something's going to jump up from somewhere. And you're going to leave spaces somewhere in here. I think you're going to add all your high energy stuff way up at the top. That's my take. Could be wrong. Now, at that point, and it appears only from what I'm seeing from what this guy said, you have to leave it like minutes or more, 15 minutes or something, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, the thing jumps and stays. Or it stays for a while, and then it drops. And then, but the key here is something in here is spiking everything to the outside edge, as much as it can get out here, and which enhances the frequency that this thing will resonate at, or project light, however you want to look at it. It's going to shorten the frequency of this, I believe. Now, so all of a sudden they drop back down a little while later, and then they heats them up and they do something a little different that time, and the next time it'll do something different. Very strange. But I believe it's doing this magnetic thing in phases. Jump, 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 stay out there. Okay, next time you do it, it's the one's already out there. Something of that nature. And you keep heating, heating, eventually it stays out there. That's all I can tell you. Now, at this point, what does that do for you? I really have no clue. I'm thinking to myself that protons are what you live on. So, you know, do you have 40 days worth of protons coming out of this? Because that's what it says in the ancient text. They could live for 40 days, they start glowing. I can understand the glow. That is going to happen, I think, because you're giving off unnatural radiation, which is not, something's going to be given off there. Something's going to be up there. I really can't absorb all this. But something's going to happen up, and I see atomic radiation, which creates what I'm calling atomic white. So anyway, let's go back to the conclusion. Here's the conclusions I got. I don't want to bore you anymore. Heat eventually locks in an unnatural state. Those things will never be like that unless they were heated in these sequences over and over and over in some kind of a media that he's doing with pH changes. You know, you have to prepare this in an exact manner, and I understand how it does, because there's chelation and there's cracking the bonds and all that. By the way, you know, this fracking, that's not just fracturing the ground, that's fracturing the ground and cracking the bonds. They're injecting Mother Earth with acids. They're destroying the Earth. All right, I'll get away from that. Now, so we know that the heat eventually locks in unnatural states. That's what I'm saying. Now, frequencies causing atomic white. These are enhanced frequencies. So, in other words, you have a normal red frequency coming out of a normal atom that creates red frequencies. Well, this is going to be a red plus frequency. Anyway, I'm saying, here's what I'm going to call it. They're going to create trans elements. And they're like semi-stable, and they seem to have some glowing potential. They radiate somehow, for some reason, in some way. And you know, when you think about this, you see, most people think, oh, you got a handful of atoms, you know, there's 50,000 in there maybe. There's hundreds of trillions and billions. They would cover the Earth in inches if they were popcorn. Is that much? It's just unbelievable the number of molecules there is in any substance. I mean, just the stuff you breathe in, 1 gram of that would just, you couldn't even ever in your lifetime count that high. It's just unbelievable. So, you know, I'm not saying this is impossible. I don't know. I have no clue. And then the 2-dimension thing, I also understand that to some degree, because you're heating, it's again the heating, the magnetism. These things are laying flat. I really don't know. I had a magnet one time, and I can't find the thing again, that had a 1-dimensional magnetic field coming out of it. And I've played with the magnets extensively, and there is really no shielding a magnet. You know, I've tried everything, and nothing shields a magnet. But this particular one had some characteristic, and I can't find it. So if anybody has like a magnet where you can put on one side and it sticks, and turn it over and it has no stickiness whatsoever to the iron that's under it, that's an interesting magnet, and I'd like to see that. All right. Anyway, this is what I found. This is what I think, and I don't know. That's what it looks like to me.